All right, everyone, a new generation of leadership. Kamala Harris throwing Biden under the bus hardcore. This follows, of course, only 2 days in the wake of Joe Biden seemingly throwing her under the bus by wearing a MAGA hat. And then his people had to scramble and say, no, he's not actually for Trump 2024. It's just a message of unity. You know, it was 9/11 and shit like that. I don't believe that in the least. There is a lot of court intrigue going on in the Democratic Party right now, and there's a lot of coping going on, and a lot of wagons circling by the legacy media. Quite clearly, they want Kamala Harris to be elected. I don't think that Joe Biden does. Honestly, I think that Joe Biden is ambivalent on that issue and says, well, yeah, the Democratic Party basically fucked me in the ass, forced me out. You know, they said I couldn't win and shit like that. Well, come on, man, I'll take you out behind the woodshed. Haha, I know what I'll do. Then he puts the MAGA hat on. This is Kamala's response to that, in my opinion. I think that this is very pointed. She was asked specifically, what's the difference between you and Biden? Well, I'm from a new generation of leadership. Well, I mean, think about it this way. Let's figure out exactly what she's saying. Is she talking about any differential policy proposal? No, she's not. Is she talking about a difference on foreign policy, domestic policy, economics in general? No, she's not referring to that at all. When pressed on a difference between her and Joe Biden, it's just, well, I'm younger. Yeah, basically, that's funny, because I remember, it was not that many months ago. The legacy media used to tell me that if you brought up age in the election, that you were ageist and that it was a problem, that it was a bad thing. It's not really about age. Well, I mean, I agree with that. Of course, Donald Trump is an older dude, too. It really has to do about your cognitive capabilities. If you're going to be in an executive capacity, you have to be able to make decisions. Potentially at 3 o'clock in the morning when nuclear weapons are flying at the country. It does matter. Trump passes the cognitive test. Joe Biden quite clearly didn't. And so all of a sudden, and this was entirely fucking predictable, in fact, it's boringly predictable, literally everyone knew this would happen. The second that Biden stood down, like within 24 hours, the legacy media all of a sudden started bringing up age. Now, they never pressed Kamala on this, by the way. She didn't mention any specific policy differences with Joe Biden. The American public should probably be aware of this. There are none. Her policies will be fundamentally the same. She was part of the same fucking administration as the literal second in command. But no, it's all about age. Well, basically, hey, here's the difference. I'm 20 years younger than Joe. You're still no spring chicken, by the way, Kamala. Isn't she like in her early 60s or something like that? Okay, a new generation of leadership. How wonderful. What qualifications specifically does that impart to you? Other than the fact that you are capable of generally stringing a sentence together and you generally know where you are. And Kamala is not necessarily the one that you would want to go with such a non-platform, because she is incoherent on a fairly regular basis, including in this particular clip, by the way. I don't know exactly what your policy proposals are, on most issues at least. She's released a very, very sparse platform with only like a half a dozen planks in it, and half of those were stolen from the Trump campaign, actually. It's very interesting how she's trying to do the homework copying thing. That may have worked back in the 1990s, prior to the rise of, the modern internet. It doesn't work so well now. She's trying an outdated strategy. Bill Maher coming out the other day and saying, well, I think that after Trump's debate performance, it's done and Kamala will win. I disagree with you. I think that at the rate that Kamala is quickly exhausting what capital she had, both in the monetary and in the civic sense, I think that she will lose, actually. I'm not particularly worried. Will she do better than Joe Biden would have done? Yeah, she'll do better than Joe Biden would have done. But that's, again, the comparison that people are making is Kamala Harris is perfect and wonderful and everything great in the world because she's better than the dude who literally couldn't mutter his way through a 90-minute debate performance and at some points appeared not to understand what he was even being asked. That's not necessarily the most glowing endorsement of Kamala Harris. Then, We've also got the VP debate that will happen. And we might have another presidential debate. We're not 100% sure. Vance is going to destroy Tim Walz. He's much better spoken. He also, optically, he looks better. Tim Walz is sort of the chucklehead in his 60s, whereas, J.D. Vance is considerably younger. He's very well spoken. I may not agree with all of his views. I'm sure that Trump doesn't either. But, yeah, he's definitely a better running mate, so we'll have that as well. Kamala Harris throwing Biden under the bus. We've seen some crazy shit in this election cycle. We saw the incumbent stand down. That usually does not happen. In fact, I can't remember the last time that it did happen, actually. We saw the rise of, a psychopathic VP into that spot instead. Trump almost gets brain. And now it looks like there's still continuing palace intrigue, court intrigue, between the Biden and the Harris sort of inner circles. That is what I believe we are seeing at this time. I can't imagine that Joe Biden actually thought, even with his dementia, that donning a MAGA hat was anything other than a pointed statement. It could not be simply a message of unity. It wouldn't make any sense. Kamala Harris also, she knows exactly what she's doing. She's trying to remind the American people, hey, you remember the other dude? My former taskmaster? Yeah, you remember when he completely melted down because he's got cognitive decline? They never pressed her, by the way, on what she knew and when with regards to the issue. Did you ever suspect that President Biden had some sort of cognitive decline? Yeah, never asks her. She never gets asked these questions. I would think that would be meaningful. Did you cover up for the fact that the sitting president of the United States was not really capable of leading? And by the way, there's also another lead through here. Ask her this, and I hope she does get asked it, but she won't. Do you believe that Joe Biden, in his diminished capacity, which you acknowledge is the case at this point, do you believe that he should continue on as commander-in-chief, or should he cede that power to you as an interim pending the election? And then she's in an impossible situation, so she wouldn't answer the question. She'd just spout vague platitudes and slogans as usual. I hate that she's not being pressed on these things. If Trump were so vacuous, it would be front-page news. Donald Trump word salad. Trump doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. I mean, they've made headlines to that effect anyway. But with Kamala Harris, she can basically not answer any questions at all, and she gets a free pass. It's quite clear who the legacy media, big tech, the bigwigs, corporate executives, the uniparty in general, it's quite clear who they want to be elected. That's about all. Peace out.